Another week and another cliffhanger. This is going to be one of those shows where I'm just going to be like, anybody that watched this show is not going to have the suffering that I did and having to wait week after week just to finally get the answer on what they're going to do with this ending. This is like the biggest, like, drawn out climax ever, and I'm starting to get really frustrated with it, but it's fine. Still an excellent episode. Honestly, episode 11 of I'm Quitting Heroing, I was very afraid coming into this episode that it was going to be a recap in disguise. And it really did feel like that. In the earlier segments, it really did feel like they were just recapping everything. Like, yes, we know that Leo did this. Yes, we know that Leo traveled. Yes, we know that Leo talked to this Brad guy. We knew all this stuff. Like, the first part of it felt like it was just repeating all the stuff we already knew. But thankfully, it started to really kind of shift the narrative. This was us finally getting a clear-cut example of the downfall of Leo. Everything that he's mentioned regarding him turning into a villain has all just been him saying it. So we're just supposed to assume that he was saying it truthfully. But then there was a side of my mind, obviously, and I'm sure other people, that if he's saying all this stuff about becoming the villain just to force Ekidona's hand. No, this was us seeing it happen. Like, it legit shows Leo actually do something that went too far. He was in the process of creating himself as the villain. He was doing it. So I did like the fact that despite the fact that I was really fearing this would be a recap, it didn't do that. So yeah, technically, mostly the same stuff, but showing his path from the point that he was created, stopping the demons, yes, stopping wars between humans, a good question mark there. Who does Leo fight for when there's a war between humans? His goal is to protect the humans. Why would he care which side he's on? You would think that, my assumption would be kind of like probably a Superman thing, like the superhero thing where they don't necessarily like choose a side and attack the other side, but rather go right after the weapons of war. Like, if you can remove their ability to fire at each other, they can no longer fire at each other. They no longer have that source of their power. Or cut off supply lines, force them to retreat. And I think that's probably what they were doing, because it just shows him attack a tank. And so it makes sense that if he was stopping war between humans, he'd want to stop the weapons themselves. But yeah, that gets into that whole downward spiral. As he's seeing peace happening, he's seeing this lady giving food to these kids, and she's like, oh, it's so great that we have peace. And he's like, smile. Like, why am I not smiling? This is a good thing. I should be like this lady. I should be happy that there's peace. But he's not. He's not happy. He wants to be wanted. And without war or without some threat, without the demons or something to put there, and every time something exploded, he was happy. And again, that's that downward spiral of his mentality into madness, essentially. But then this is the turning point for him. As he's thinking this, eventually he decides he's got enough skill and power. He has the knowledge. I will recreate the DH series. He actually goes into this lab where he was made, and he was recreating all of the DH series. He was recreating himself as well. You guys will be the bad guys. You will go out there and destroy mankind, and then I will save it. And it takes him until he sees something happening outside, and he goes, holy crap. The moment something bad happens, it re-sparks in his mind, oh, I gotta save somebody. And that pullback, that pulling him back into that mindset doesn't compute with the aspect that what he just did. And so he immediately goes, wait, what the hell am I doing? And he runs back down there and destroys it. It was funny because this whole scene was confusing, because when I first watch it and he walks down there, it almost looks like he was just replaying a memory. The way that it kind of recreates things, it looks like he's creating a memory. And then when he runs back down there, I'm like, oh wait, he was creating them. Like, that's legit what he was doing. I thought that was really cool. Like I said, despite the fact that it feels like a recap, it feels like we're pretty much readdressing what Leo's already said. This was showing us that it wasn't just spoken word, that this was occurrences in his history. The other cool thing that really happened, in addition to them really solidifying his words as, yes, he was essentially becoming the villain, the other thing that they kind of solidified in this episode was why he chose to go to Ekidona. Why did he choose to go to help her rebuild the Demon Lord army? Because that was a big question mark. Even Melnez asked it in the previous episode. Why would you come all the way here and help us just to destroy the world? It doesn't make any sense. You could have done that yourself. Why did you come to us? We finally got the answer. He specifically chose her because he was looking for somebody to hand the baton off to. I have this power. I'm going crazy. I cannot continue. So I need to make sure that I pass this down to somebody that will use it for good. And it was Ekidona that showed some sort of semblance that she could be the one to keep peace. Everybody else would be out for their own gain. Ekidona was the first one that he seen. He laughed about it. Like, why? Sure enough, the person that I end up finding that's worthy of it ends up being the Demon Lord. Like, the comedy behind that is something that strikes him. And yes, I think a lot of that has to do with the statement that she wasn't invading to and kill, she was just occupying. She was trying to get in there to get the Philosopher's Stone, obviously. And this gets into the actual conflict of the current time, obviously. And this is where I'm really struggling with how I'm going to feel about the next episode. Because yes, the next episode is the finale. So what we're kind of established here additionally, and this is the one thing that kind of sways in a different direction, is exactly what I was kind of mentioning in the previous episode. I kind of seen it going in multiple directions. One was, okay, the writer goes through with it. They said, okay, Leo has to die. She kills Leo and gets the Philosopher's Stone, or the core that he has, and she basically uses it for good. And that's the big ending. And it would be pretty impactful. The other direction would be like Ekidona, I don't know, takes it from him, but like gives her a part of her heart, or she has two hearts because she's Demon Lord, so could have that going on with it, and that makes him mortal, and they move on together. The other idea was just to completely disable his ability, which is technically what she claimed the ability did, that she used, just disable his abilities, and that makes him mortal in a sense, and then he doesn't have to be a hero anymore. And he no longer has all this power that is corrupting his mind. But the other direction that I felt like it was going to take, and I even stated, I was pretty word for word too. She would eventually say, you don't tell me what I do. I'm the Demon Lord. You can't tell me to kill you. I don't want to kill you. And she technically says that. She says, you're not going to, forget that. I don't do what you want me to do. And she basically puts it that way. She doesn't want him to force her hand into doing this. Heck with that. To heck with that. I don't need to do that. She won't stand for it. But then she immediately says, okay, if you wanted me to do this, then I'll do it. And then she calls for everybody to rush in. So this is where I'm going to get with my struggle. Oh, additionally, she does mention the idea that the reason why she comes to that conclusion of not wanting to stand for it was because she sees that he's in pain. He wants it. He wants it to end. And even in his own mind, he's saying, I don't want to die. Like in the very end, he says, I don't want to die. But he kind of knows it has to happen. And he's not dodging it. And she won't stand for it. You've saved everybody for so long, and nobody saved you. I like that statement. I think it's cheesy, yes, but I liked it. With everything that's built up so far, at least admitting to the idea that he's been a hero for so long, but nobody was his hero. Nobody reached out to him when he was in his darkest. And she kind of wants to be that person. So, here's the struggle. We have a very conflicting ending to this episode. On one hand, you have Ekidona saying, I won't stand for it. Nobody's reached out for you, and in your darkest time, I won't stand for it. Now, she could be stating this in a sense of, nobody reached out and gave you your peace. I will now give you your peace. Like she's putting him to rest because he's in a dark place, and he sees no way out, and she doesn't see a way out. On the other side, you do have him saying, I don't want to die. That's a surefire sign that the writer's not going to commit. Like, I don't see any writer saying that in this self-sacrificing sense and them going through with it. Him saying, I don't want to die, that right there, that one statement just assured me Leah will not die. Because he had a moment where he said, wait, no. Not that he's saying, wait, no, don't kill me, but that he's like, he doesn't see any other route. But yet he still doesn't want to die. So that means that Ekidona and her generals will find a way to make him survive. Now, maybe that does mean that they technically killed him, but they're going to bring him back. they're going to save him in some way. And like I said, I think that's probably going to be in the way of giving him one of her hearts because, Ekidona probably has 2 hearts or they know some way of reviving him. At this point, I have 0% believability that this is going to have Leo dead. Because those final lines won't stand for it, don't want to die. Despite her calling for her generals to attack, which they wouldn't know what she has planned. Unless it's one of those things where everybody combined had the same idea. Let's just strike him down and then we'll save him. But yeah, I have no belief that they're going to go through with this. Which is not a bad thing. Like I said before, I don't want Leo to die. I don't want Ekidona to have her hands, stained by this death. It's just one of those things where you've been building this up for so long. We've had legit, 3 episodes straight of building up that Leo sees no other option. He must die. He's going mad. He's going crazy. He's seeking destruction. He will ruin the world. And then, never mind. Never mind. And that could be because, yes, she's removing his abilities, and maybe the abilities are what's really causing him to go crazy. Maybe removing his power will prevent him from ever being able to cause the destruction that he's afraid he's going to cause. That's probably the more apt logic there. But either way, like I said, you have my prediction. It's not going to happen, but we'll see. I really do hope they nail it. That's the big thing. It's I don't care if Leo lives or dies. I think either way, this writer's going to pull it off. The main thing is just that. I hope the writer pulls it off whatever way they go. Don't be cheesy with him surviving. Don't be over brutal. And again, yes, technically cheesy with him dying. Whatever decision the writer makes, I just hope that they pull it off. And that's my only concern. But that's my thoughts on I'm Quitting Heroing episode 11. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below and comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. It definitely helps us out. And if you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I do coverage of anime, new and old, top list, news. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, I would appreciate if you'd consider supporting us through Patreon, our tips link, or our super thanks button down below. I thank everybody that does, and y'all take care.